Hello everyone and welcome to another What I Think review, and today we're going to be looking at these. These are the 720 13th Doctor figures. We have here the Toots Toys exclusive version with the coat, and then we have another release version without the coat. Now I'm not going to unbox these simply because here in the UK you cannot get these for love nor money unless you want to pay ridiculously high prices of people who imported them in, or you want to pay import costs, which I had to do to get them. So to me, as a UK fan, these are collector's pieces because they will never be released in this country. And the other thing I just want to get a point and make this clear right at the very start. Yes, these are not the best looking figures. They are not the most well-made figures. I just want to say that now because I know many people are going to sort of make that a huge point about them, and I don't want that to be a huge point about them. I actually do want to review them fairly. So I just want to, get it clear, saying yes, these are not the best looking figures. They do not look very well made, etc., etc. All the stuff that you've heard about them is true to an extent. However, that being said, having these in the hand and seeing them actually in the hand, even in their boxes, I genuinely don't think they deserve half the scorn that they've got, because when you look at them, they're not great, no, but you can certainly see the potential of them. So just looking at the boxes are very well nicely packaged. Obviously it's the same packaging they use for the 720 Sonic. Both of the backs of the boxes are the same, advertising 720's own Sonic. The one thing that I have noticed on these figures, which I also noticed on the 720 Sonic, is that it has what it is in English, but then it also has it in French. Now, I don't know if somebody can clarify this for me. Is 720 a Canadian company? Because that would explain the reason for it also having the explanations of what's in them in French, or possibly, as these are produced in America, I'd assume that they are then imported to Canada, which would be sort of their nearest place that they would import them, so therefore they put the French on there for that reason. I'm just curious about that. But let's have a look now close up at the figures themselves in the boxes. So here we have a close up of the two figures. So overall they are basically the same figure, with the exception of obviously one's got a coat and one hasn't. The articulation on them, I have to say, is very good. It looks like, so we've got a head joint as we have on the standard character options versions. We've got shoulder joints, bicep joints, elbow joints, and it appears the hands also turn as well. In terms of the legs, we've got a hip swivel joint. You can see we've got the hip joints around the hips, knee joins, and then I don't believe, from what I can see in the box, that the boots and the shoes doesn't look like they move. So essentially, this actually has the same amount of articulation as the character options version. So it hasn't lost anything in that sense. I know that, some people, I've seen some people say the articulation doesn't look as good and things like that, and it probably is, in all fairness, just from looking at them and how they're produced. And from the visual quality of them, it wouldn't surprise me if these do come apart more easily than the character options ones. But they actually don't have any less articulation, or any more, to be fair. But no, they have the same amount of articulation, it would seem, as the character options version. So I can't fault them on that point at all. In terms of the sculpt and how they look, it's interesting. Because the most noticeable issues with the sculpt, I have to say, I don't want to say the word issues, the most noticeable difference, should we say, with the sculpt is, the first thing that springs to mind is Jodie's waist on the coatless version. It is very hourglass and it looks a bit too thin, especially compared to how wide her shoulders are there. But when the coat's on this one, it again looks alright to me. Actually, you don't notice that. Which looks very good. The coat is a much more sort of noticeable darker purple, or sort of darker mauve, I should say. And the head sculpt is actually nice. I have to say, I do actually quite like the head sculpt, because whilst it needs, I'll put it this way, this is something again which, to be fair, that has slight in common with character options, is the the head sculpt looks very good. It's a very striking head sculpt, and it does, I have to say, actually in the hand, maybe not in pictures or on screen, I don't know, but in the hand it actually does look quite a bit like Jodie, but it falls at the same hurdle which some character options ones do, in that the paint application on the head sculpt is it leaves a little bit to be desired. It's not perfect, but it could have been just that little bit better. Which again is probably down to a budget thing, I'm sure. You know, it's not saying that they haven't put the quality into them at all, and you know, they're not putting the control into it. They do have to do these, make these to a certain degree, but it does have, and I think this is probably the best way to describe these figures overall. They are not great figures, but one thing that I can certainly see in these, and I know that other people have said this once, now I've had these in the hand. Before I got these, I was very, I really didn't like the look of them, I didn't think they were very good, but when I got them in the hand and I actually looked at them and I made this point, other people agreed, you can see the potential in these. Now, I don't know if 720 are planning on making any other figures, because I know these are the only two, or Doctor Who figures I should say, that they have produced along with the Sonic, but I kind of hope they do, simply because these figures, as I said, they're not great, but they are certainly a benchmark for improvement. Is you look at these and you don't think, oh god, I mean, I look at these and I don't think, oh god, I hope they don't make any more of these are terrible. I look at these and think, do you know what, they're not great, but I can certainly see how they could do better in future, and I think it really does sort of show in those that these could actually turn out to be something good, and I don't think, I want to make it clear, I don't think this is going to happen, because I think it's a bit too far behind. I think if 720 now had been a bit left at the lights, they wouldn't be able to catch up. But if these figures had been produced at the same time as the Doctor Who range had its, you know, its figure range had its heyday, which ironically these are the 720, a bit of an offshoot here. These are produced by 720, who are actually who Underground Toys used to be, and as many of you will know, Underground Toys used to have the license to produce classic Doctor Who figures, but Character Options actually produced the figures for the classic series, which were then sold under the Underground Toys license, which is why, obviously, for whatever reason, these companies have separated, and that's the reason why we're now getting 720/Underground Toys figures as well, instead of, sorry. But I would have to say, if these had been produced, if 720/Underground Toys had produced their own figures back in their heyday of when Doctor Who figures had their big boost, and we were getting these figures today, I would say that the chances are that these figures, had they been started to produce back in the day, would actually rival Character Options today. That's how much potential I think they show, is that if I had been reviewing these figures, say 7 or 8 years ago, I would have certainly said that any figures they released today would have rivaled Character Options, but unfortunately that's not the case, and that's why I don't think these figures have been particularly popular, is because these really are sort of, there's no way getting around it, these are subpar compared to Character Options versions. But I hope that doesn't put off 720, because I know the American market is hugely wanting of merchandise, because I know Character Options don't distribute there now because 720 have the license, and I know some people are saying I hope 720 don't do it so Character Options can distribute, which I'm not going to deny would be a good thing, but equally I really do hope that 720 do sort of carry on, or they come to some agreement with Character Options where Character Options do also distribute in the market, but 720 also, you know, have some distribution rights as well. I don't know, I'm not going to get into the whole, you know, economic politics of that, as it were, but I really do think that these figures deserve a bit more love than they've been getting, because they aren't great, but they really aren't that bad. I honestly have to say, I don't think they're as bad as people have made them out to be. But that brings to a close another What I Think review. But before I go, if I have to give a final thought on these figures, I would say, yes, they are not the best made. Character Options ones are certainly far superior. And as a... I can't advise people on, you know, as American collectors, whether they're worth getting or things like that, because obviously I know many of you will want to get the character options versions. But for UK collectors, if you ever do come across these, I personally would, and you are a collector, you like to collect the figures, I personally would buy these because, as I said, they're not the best made, the best looking things, but they actually really are something which, especially as I said, in this country, you can't get hold of, and so they do sort of have a sort of value of sorts to be part of a collection. So personally, my recommendation is if you find them in this country, in the UK, do get them to collect them, because they are nice pieces even just to have on display in a box. But as I said, that brings to a close another What I Think review. As always, I hope you all enjoyed this video. Like, favorite, subscribe, share, it really helps me out a lot. Be sure to go to the description below for a link to my Patreon. I'm doing my very first figure animation and you can get involved. There's exclusive content and rewards for those who do so, and funding my Patreon in any way gets your name at the end of my videos. I salute you all, and I will see you with another video very soon.